The first 8 witnesses were called this afternoon for the bench trial for 25-year-old Laquarus Augustine of Alexandria. Augustine's charge was second-degree murder and attempted armed robbery in connection to a May 7th, 2021 deadly shooting at Liberty Arsenal in Labousse. Now, this trial is for the murder charge only. The shooting killed the store's owner, David Paul, and injured his brother, Michael. Augustine was one of 5 people arrested in connection to the case. During opening arguments, Assistant District Attorney Lee Hall told the court that before the shooting happened, Augustine and another co-defendant, Ramonte Jackson, went to Liberty Arsenal because Jackson was looking for a magazine. Hall said evidence would show that the pair encountered the Paul brothers and that Jackson asked Augustine if he believed the brothers were the only 2 in the store. Augustine and Jackson left, but Hall said the conversation continued and Jackson hatched a plot to go back and rob the store. Video evidence would pick up Jackson's Jeep in a nearby neighborhood and Augustine getting into the driver's seat to head back. Now, according to Hall, Jackson's plan involved telling the Paul brothers that he had a dysfunctional magazine to distract them from a pistol that he was also carrying. As Jackson went in, Augustine kept the vehicle running with the passenger door open. Hall said that they've got that on video. Once inside, Jackson repeatedly shot David and Michael Paul, but it's believed that Michael returned fire. Hall said 13 .45 caliber casings were recovered. Jackson left the store, then came back and shot again. Hall said it was Michael Paul's actions that stopped Jackson from getting what he wanted. After Jackson and Augustine fled, Augustine was eventually tracked down in Monroe and gave police a statement. His public defender, James Word, told the court that Jackson ordered Augustine to participate and that Augustine knew that if he tried to stop him, he'd be killed. Now, Ramonte Jackson is currently serving life plus 50 years for pleading guilty to first-degree murder and attempted first-degree murder. A pathologist who testified this afternoon confirmed that David Paul was killed by gunfire, and she said she recovered 5 bullets from his body.